Hi guys, welcome back to Adstand Economics. It's been a little while since we've done an episode, but in our second episode we're going to be focusing on fiscal and monetary policy. Is there anything that you want to say beforehand?
Well, I don't know, what do you want to say?
Well, of course, we need to congratulate Adam on getting head boy. Well done, Adam.
Thank you very much, Stan.
Yeah.
Stan got a new trim a couple of weeks ago. It was very short, but you guys won't know this.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we crack on and
let's get on
stop with this silly chat? So, although it was around a month ago, a few weeks ago, we will be looking at the budget today and also the decision of the Bank of England to freeze interest rates yet again. So, the budget, what did you take? What were your main takeaways, Stan?
The child benefit increase from £50,000 to £60,000. The threshold's obviously increased, which is really beneficial for people claiming benefits. But this is going to increase people's confidence and overall happiness in our economy and in our government. It could be something perhaps that the Conservative government have put in place due to the election, but that's just all speculative. However, it is very good. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the general election's coming up in the next year, definitely. So obviously, the Conservative Party definitely naturally going to take steps to try and improve the number of votes which they can get. But at the same time, this could just be due to inflation as well. So there's been a lot of inflation in the last few years by increasing that threshold. Real wages, £50,000 a few years ago, maybe are now £60,000 in real terms. In nominal terms, converted to real terms are the same. So that threshold's almost needed to provide the same as it was a few years ago.
Definitely.
And then moving on from that as well, national insurance was decreased further, so it was decreased by another 2% following the autumn budget. And what does that do, Stan?
Well, for workers, it's gone from 10% to 8%, which is going to increase the amount that people can save. And also it's going to increase the amount that people could consume because they're just going to have a higher personal disposable income. Which is obviously going to help our circular flow diagram in obviously basic macroeconomics.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. And I suppose by increasing consumption, potentially the UK will get out of that recession. So the estimates this year suggest that the first quarter GDP has risen by 0.1%, but the Office for National Statistics have not released that information yet, so we don't definitely know. But we do need higher consumption in the economy to try and boost ourselves out of that recession. So it'll be interesting to see what the data says when it is finally released. But again, we've got to be wary because we don't want inflation again having it just being such a problem, which we'll come back to later when we're talking about monetary policy. How have they funded that though? They can't just decrease national insurance without being able to fund it somehow, Stan.
So they've increased the taxes on business class flights and vapes and tobacco products, which is, I think it's good. Obviously, it's a positive step towards sort of better health overall on the vape and tobacco side, and sort of environmentally for business class flights. Obviously, a business class seat is going to take up a lot more room where if it was an economy seat, you could fit a lot more people in. So, and with the business class flights, wealthier people and businesses that are paying for these business class flights are going to be taxed more money. So this is going to reduce inequality.
Yeah, I mean that it's interesting from the government. I've not seen that before recently, but I think it's probably a fair and good decision because business class flights aren't necessarily a necessity.
No.
People need to be able to travel, and so choosing to tax that rather than normal economy is a good decision, I think. And then linking back to that, if we think about externalities, the welfare loss is going to be reduced by tax on vapes. Although that is going to take a while, so the implementation of that tax, the cost of that tax, it's going to take a long time to be set up, and so the rewards aren't necessarily going to be reaped that quickly.
No.
But there will be a lot of tax revenue from that because obviously it's habitual, it's addictive, vaping.
And it's very very popular, especially amongst the youth.
The policies which Rishi Sunak is taking to try and tackle it is very strong, which I'm all for. For some people, I think it's going to be difficult, but it'll be interesting to see.
And also, capital gains tax was decreased by 4%. What's that going to do, Stan?
So for people who are inheriting, property, and also for businesses, this is essentially going to mean that they have to pay less money back to the government when they either inherit something or on the business side of it. What would it be?
Well, I guess landlords are probably going to have
yeah.
to pay the most capital gains tax out of anyone, so they'll be able to retain more profits, which is also good then for people who are renting, because landlords are more able to reduce that rent, which in London at the moment especially is a massive problem. Rent prices are way too high, the cost of living is really high, and the disparity between wages, and that's why London's wages are so high, but it's important that we're trying to reduce rent, and that's one of the ways which that can be done as well. And then also the NHS, did you?
The NHS, there's been a 3.4 billion upgrade to the NHS, to NHS computers. This is hopefully going to decrease waiting times, and just hopefully people are going to be able to, get appointments quicker. If we've got better computer systems, and they'll be able to book things more easily.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Definitely. I mean, the NHS is a really difficult one. I think the fact that we have, state-provided healthcare in this country is brilliant.
Yeah.
But the funding for it, there's so much which the government needs to fund.
Yeah, it's
I think
lacking.
you can say that the NHS probably needs more funding, but
yeah, definitely.
It's really hard. These waiting times are really, really long. And not everyone can afford private healthcare, so it's important the government are taking these steps.
A very small percentage of the population can afford private healthcare, and so I think that it's very important that the Conservative government that's currently in power do focus on the NHS, which also leads me on to the £2.5 billion that's been allocated for the pressures on the NHS.
To reduce pressures. So again, a lot of pressure has actually been put on the Conservatives to do this because, the NHS has probably been slightly underfunded.
Definitely.
So in Labour's electoral plans, that's sort of one of the things which is focused on. But I think by taking that step, it is a good thing for now.
So I think that was most of it from the budget. Is there anything we didn't speak about which you missed out?
Oh, alcohol duty.
Oh yeah, so what was that? Alcohol duty and fuel duty taxes were frozen.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Well, for small business owners and pub owners, this is going to be really beneficial because it means they can have more people that are still going to it's not going to decrease. The amount of people going there is not going to decrease because they'll be able to charge the same prices for alcohol. And what do you think about the fuel tax being?
Yeah, I think that's probably the right decision. It's not been changed in a long time. Fuel is a necessity essentially for people to travel. We don't have enough electric cars, and electric cars aren't affordable enough yet for us to then fully increase fuel duty. And I think it's sensible, although we're trying to move towards these net zero goals.
We do have to think about everyone as a whole.
And the economy needs to be able to function. People need to be able to get to work.
Yeah, exactly. Because if people can't get to work, then they're not going to be paying taxes, are they?
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, honestly, these chains. So I think that brings us to the end of the budget, and then we're just going to touch now a little bit on monetary policy side as well, so interest rates.
Yeah.
What happened last month with the interest rates?
So the Federal Reserve announced that they were going to keep their interest rates the same. I think their base rate is around 5.5%.
I think it was for the Fed, yeah.
Yeah. And then the next day, what happened, Adam?
Well, yeah, the Bank of England, sheeps almost, did the same, kept theirs at 5.25. I think if someone was going to cut their interest rates, I thought it would have been the Bank of England, because we were in a recession, so we needed to maybe reduce them to encourage spending. But again, I think the Bank of England were too scared that there'd be inflation if they did that again. And obviously we've just come out of this cost of living crisis, which is why they voted 8-1 in the end to maintain interest rates at 5.25%.
Which is a 16-year high.
16-year high. I think a couple of years ago there was how many years in a row, or how many? Sorry.
Oh, the
Times.
monetary tightening.
Yeah.
It's been 14 times in a row from December 2021 to August 2023, and it's one of the most aggressive monetary tightening sort of
Yeah.
schemes or patterns that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's almost weird that they've been kept the same for so long, but at the same time we saw that massive increase, so it doesn't make sense. And actually, 5.25% isn't that high of an interest rate.
No.
We touched on this in our last episode. It does seem high to us today. I mean, especially considering we've only been alive since the financial crisis just before. But like, if you look back in the 1980s, they were much
significantly higher.
But yeah, is there anything else to touch on?
Inflation rates have fallen.
Oh, of course.
From why do you say it like that? Inflation rates have fallen from 4% in January to 3.4% at the end of February. Do you want to touch on that?
Well, yeah, we still don't have any data for March, despite it being April, so it would have been nice if we had that, but we don't. But yeah, it's good. You know, we can see the government steps are making some progress. Obviously, not yet that 2% target, which is another reason why we had to keep interest rates the same. And it also links nicely to the budget, you know, so the inflation rates, the unemployment rates, not really changing much. And then finally, in terms of quantitative easing, there's not really been much change since a couple of years ago when all the bonds were bought up by the Bank of England, because there's not really much of a need to print / increase the money supply at the moment, because we don't want inflation to worsen again.
Do you know what kind of bonds these were?
Government, James Bonds?
We're not keeping that in. We're not keeping that in. Okay.
Unedited version.
I think they were fixed year treasury bonds.
Fixed year, okay.
Thank you, sir.
But you're welcome. Okay, so that's going to top off our second episode. We should have another one coming fairly soon.
Yeah, hopefully fairly soon. You know, we'll look at what to discuss. If you have any ideas or there's anything you're interested in particular, then leave a comment below.
Yeah, thanks guys.